Welcome to Sports Guy Talking. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about the greatness of Jimmy Butler. Despite the fact that the Heat are the 8th seed, they have really turned it on in the NBA playoffs. Even though the Heat are missing Tyler Herro and Victor Oladipo due to injury, that has not stopped the Heat from winning these games in the NBA playoffs. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So, here it is. On a scale of 1 to 10, how impressive has Jimmy Butler's greatness been? And honestly, this should be a 10 out of 10, but I'm not going to rate this as a 10 out of 10 just because of the fact that the NBA playoffs have not finished yet and because of the fact that Jimmy Butler did not get a ring out of this yet. But if you had to ask me in terms of 1 to 10, I would have to say it's a 9.5 out of 10. You guys do realize that the Miami Heat were the 8th seed entering the NBA playoffs. You guys do realize that the Miami Heat had done nothing but underachieve all regular season long. You guys do realize that the Miami Heat lost the first play-in game at home to the Atlanta Hawks, but then barely scraped by in the second play-in game. That was a game not even many people believed that they would even win. I know I was not one of those people that believed that the Heat would come through in the play-in game, but ever since the NBA playoffs have turned on, Playoff Jimmy has been activated, and Playoff Jimmy has essentially turned into Michael Jordan. That's how great Jimmy Butler has been playing in the playoffs. To beat the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks in just 5 games is beyond unprecedented. It is impressive. And I understand that the Milwaukee Bucks had some factors going against them that they could not control. But what they could control was limiting Jimmy Butler, and they could not do that. Despite the fact that the Heat are missing Tyler Herro and Victor Oladipo, 2 of their better scorers on the roster, they still could not find a way to contain Jimmy Butler. Honestly, the Miami Heat, they might have been worse off had Jimmy Butler been triple teamed and they had wide open shooters. Anybody but Jimmy Butler shoots the basketball. That's how great Jimmy Butler has been. Jimmy Butler could hit the mid-range, he could hit the 3, he could drive to the paint. Look, in this playoffs, he's been averaging over 30 points a game. Actually, correction, he's been averaging over 35 points a game. That's how great Jimmy Butler has been doing in these playoffs. He's been scoring the ball, he's been being a distributor, he's been playing great defense, and you have to look at his motor as well. Jimmy Butler's motor has been excellent. Could you imagine if Anthony Davis had the motor of a Jimmy Butler? Could you imagine if Paul George and Kawhi Leonard had the toughness of Jimmy Butler? Could you imagine if Zion Williamson had just adopted some of Jimmy Butler's mentality? Could you imagine that? That's how much of a motor Jimmy Butler has been doing. Jimmy Butler is the same guy that played 48 minutes of last year's conference finals in Game 7. He didn't even miss a single second in the game, essentially. And you look at Jimmy Butler's toughness, he's willing to play through everything. You look at how they just beat the 5 seed the New York Knicks in Game 1 of the second round of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Very impressive stuff, despite the fact that Jimmy Butler rolled his ankle with 5:02 left remaining in the fourth quarter. He decided to stay in, and the fact that Jimmy Butler was there as a decoy and the presence of Jimmy Butler was enough to scare off the New York Knicks. I remember Jalen Brunson getting guarded by Jimmy Butler, and Jalen Brunson called for a switch to Kyle Lowry. It wasn't just him either, it was RJ Barrett, and that was with an injured Jimmy Butler. You could tell that the New York Knicks were scared of Jimmy Butler. That's the kind of presence that Jimmy Butler brings in game in and game out in the NBA playoffs. That's how great Jimmy Butler has been. You just think about the mere presence of him, and they're already saying, you know what, I don't really want to go up against him one-on-one, even though he's got a bum ankle, and even though he's got the ankle size of a baseball. That's how scared they were of him. I would not be surprised if Jimmy Butler found a way to get himself back on the court by Game 3 of the NBA playoffs against the New York Knicks, which is this upcoming Saturday. That it really shouldn't be the case, but Jimmy Butler's going to find a way, and you guys know that he will find a way in order to come back for the home games. Do I think he can play Game 2? I think he possibly could. Even though he's got an ankle size of a baseball right now, he will find a way to make it less swollen, and he will find a way to play through it, because that's the kind of guy Jimmy Butler is. Jimmy Butler is the kind of guy that is going to play through everything. That's how great Jimmy Butler has been. That's how tough Jimmy Butler is. And let's talk about the coaching of Erik Spoelstra as well. Erik Spoelstra's done a tremendous job with his Miami Heat team. This Miami Heat team really isn't that good in general, but Coach Spoelstra's got them playing hard. He's got them playing great defense. They're shooting the 3-ball relatively well. Credit to him for that. So I just wanted to give Erik Spoelstra a shout out. You look at Jimmy Butler, you look at his toughness, you look at his ability to drive into the paint, you look at his will, you look at his ability to never give up on plays. That's the kind of motor motor that you can't teach, and Jimmy Butler has it all. He has the heart, he has the passion, and he's got the toughness to grind out through a brutal stretch in the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs can be a grind, and that's where many players get hurt, and they end up quitting on their team in the playoffs. Look at you, Kawhi Leonard. But Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, says, let me keep going. Even though I got a bum ankle, I can stay in the corner, try to practice some catch and shoot shots. Now, essentially, the Miami Heat never threw the ball to Jimmy Butler again when he was on the basketball court, but when Jimmy Butler was playing on the court, he was able to still provide, playing good defense, and he was able to be a great leader for the Miami Heat. He gave them inspiration not to give up and to close out a Game 1 road win over the New York Knicks. Now, do I think the Miami Heat can win this series against the Knicks? I definitely think they can. I understand that they're an 8 seed, and I understand that 8 seeds don't really win quite often. But when you look at this Jimmy Butler guy, he will find a way to come through and play big-time basketball come playoff time. That's what he was born to do. That's what he is built to do. That's why Jimmy Butler is great at what he does. He's been fantastic at it. I got to give him tremendous props where tremendous credit is due. And I think the Miami Heat, they're going to beat the New York Knicks in 7 games. And it honestly would probably be sooner if the Miami Heat weren't an 8 seed and if Jimmy Butler wasn't hurt right now. But you look at this Miami Heat team, they've got Jimmy Butler, they got Bam Adebayo, they got Duncan Robinson, who seems to have reinvented himself. Max Strus is a solid 3-and-D player. Cody Zeller can play a little bit off the bench as well. He's been giving them solid backup minutes at the center position. So you got to give him tremendous credit where tremendous credit is due in that regard as well. And you think about where Jimmy Butler started off. He was the 30th overall pick of the 2011 NBA draft. And Jimmy Butler's done nothing but overachieve. He started out his career as a shooting guard. Now he's known as a forward tweener. He can play the small forward position. He can play the power forward position. He can get rebounds very well for someone his size, and his motor is very good. You can't teach toughness. You can't teach motor. And that's exactly what Jimmy Butler has. And Jimmy Butler is willing to play through injury. If you're an old school guy, if you're an old head, you guys should absolutely love Jimmy Butler, because this guy's willing to play through every injury, and he's willing to get his points the hard way, and he's actually willing to play defense and be physical. What Jimmy Butler has done for the Miami Heat, it's been absolutely incredible, and in this playoffs, his greatness has been displayed at an impressive level. It's a 9.5 for me. The only reason it's not a 10 is because I've seen him do it in the bubble before, and also because of the fact that he hasn't capped it off with the title ring yet. But if there's a guy that deserves a ring, Jimmy Butler has got to be at the top of the list. So that is why it is a 9.5 out of 10 when you talk about the impressiveness of Jimmy Butler in this year's NBA playoffs. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinTran and at Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video. Comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.